Let's begin with something simple. An object so familiar, we rarely give it a second thought. Imagine you are looking at a bright red apple. It's not a picture of an apple or the word apple. It's right there, a real, physical thing. You can almost feel its weight in your hand, the coolness of its skin. It's sitting right there on a table, under the gentle glow of a lamp. It's a specific shade of red, not quite crimson, not quite scarlet, but a deep, satisfying apple red. Now let's ask a seemingly straightforward question. How do you know it's red? The scientific story begins with physics. Light from the room, a stream of countless tiny particles called photons, bombards the apple. The apple's skin is a marvel of natural chemistry. It absorbs most wavelengths of light, but it reflects a very specific portion of the spectrum. Light with a wavelength of about 650 nanometers. These photons, carrying the signature of red, travel across the space between the apple and you. They pass through the lens of your eye, which focuses them onto the retina, a delicate, light-sensitive layer of tissue at the back of your eyeball. Here, the story transitions from physics to biology. Your retinas are packed with millions of photoreceptor cells. The ones responsible for color vision are called cones. When the 650 nanometer photons strike your long wavelength cones, the ones tuned for red light, they trigger a chemical reaction. In an instant, the energy of light is converted into a tiny electrical signal. This is where the journey gets complex. Those signals, now a form of biological information, travel along your optic nerve, a bundle of over 1 million nerve fibers. They race towards a relay station deep in the center of your brain, called the thalamus, and from there, they are routed to the visual cortex at the very back of your head. Inside the cortex, it's a storm of activity. The initial signal is processed for basic features like edges and orientation. Then, it's passed along to other specialized areas that process color, shape, and motion, cross-referencing the information with your memories. Is it food? Is it a threat? Have I seen this before? All of this happens in a fraction of a second, a symphony of electrochemical communication. Now, here's the amazing part. Scientists, with their incredible tools like fMRI and EEG, can watch this whole process unfold. They can see the blood flow to your visual cortex increase. They can map every neuron that fires in response to that red light. They can trace the entire causal chain, from the photon leaving the lamp to the final complex pattern of neural activation. They can point to a colorful brain scan and say with confidence, right there, that's the part of your brain that's processing the color red. They can give you a complete third-person objective account of what your brain... But after all that science, after we've explained every physical interaction down to the last synapse, a simple, almost childlike question hangs in the air, and it changes everything. Why does it like anything at all? Why does all that intricate, clockwork processing of electrical and chemical signals result in the private, internal, subjective of seeing red? This inner feeling, the actual redness of red, is what philosophers call a quale. It's the taste of salt, the sting of a cold wind, the sound of a cello. A supercomputer can be programmed to identify the 650 nanometer wavelength, access a database, and output the word red. It can perform the function. But does it have the experience? Is there something it is to be that computer, seeing red? Almost everyone would say no. Yet for you, there is. The neural activity isn't just processing data, it's generating a feeling. This is what philosopher David Chalmers famously termed the hard problem of consciousness. The easy problems, he argues, are about explaining the brain's functions, how it processes information, integrates sensory input, focuses attention, and controls behavior. These are immense scientific challenges, but we have a clear path to solving them. We're explaining what the brain, the hard problem, is different. It's about why all that doing is accompanied by an inner, private, first-person movie. Why isn't it all just happening in the dark, without any subjective audience? Nothing in our understanding of physics, chemistry, or biology predicts that a particular arrangement of matter, no matter how complex, should suddenly spark to life with subjective awareness. This gap between the objective, physical brain and the subjective, phenomenal mind is arguably the single greatest mystery left in science. We can explain what the brain does with astonishing precision, but we have no idea how the brain, and that simple red apple, sitting on the table, becomes a symbol of this profound enigma, a gateway into the deepest questions about who and what we are. Before we dive deeper into that hard problem, the mystery of subjective experience itself, it's crucial to build a foundation. We need to understand what science explains, where it has made its most stunning progress. To do that, we have to talk about what philosopher David Chalmers famously termed the easy problems of consciousness. Now, let's be very clear. Don't let the name fool you. These problems are anything but simple. They represent the collective effort of hundreds of thousands of scientists over more than a century, mapping a biological continent of staggering complexity. They are only called easy in comparison to the single, monumental, and perhaps unsolvable, hard problem of why any of this processing should feel like anything at all. The easy problems are about the brain's machinery, its functions, its abilities, the behaviors we can observe and measure. They are questions of how. How does the brain process information? How does it control the body? For these kinds of questions, science has a powerful toolkit. Think of it this way. The easy problems are all about the brain's performance. They cover the mechanisms that allow us to perceive, think, and act in the world. For example, let's take sensory processing. We can trace the journey of light with incredible precision. From photons striking the retina, to electrical signals traveling down the optic nerve, to the intricate processing that happens in the visual cortex at the back of your brain. We can identify the specific clusters of neurons that fire when you see a face versus when you see a house. We can explain how your brain turns vibrating air molecules into the coherent sound of human speech. This is a mechanical process, and we are getting remarkably good at describing it. Another easy problem is the control of behavior. Think about reaching for a cup of coffee. That seemingly simple act involves a cascade of neural events. Your brain has to calculate the cup's position, plan a trajectory for your arm, and send a perfectly timed sequence of commands to dozens of muscles. We can map this entire process, from the initial intention formed in the frontal lobes, to the fine-tuning of the movement by the cerebellum, to the final execution by the motor cortex. It's a breathtakingly complex feedback loop, but it's one we can break down and understand. Or consider the phenomenon of attention. Right now, you're focusing on my voice, filtering out the ambient sounds around you. This is often called the cocktail party effect. Neuroscientists can now show us how the brain accomplishes this feat. They can see how your prefrontal cortex and parietal lobes work together to amplify the neural signal of what you want to pay attention to, while actively suppressing the signals from distracting information. It's like a biological spotlight, and we can watch it move around in real time using brain imaging. The list goes on. We study the mechanisms of memory, how experiences are encoded into the synapses of the hippocampus and stored for later retrieval. We investigate learning, watching how the brain physically rewires itself as you practice a new skill, like playing the piano. We analyze language, mapping the networks that allow us to form sentences and share our internal thoughts with others. In every one of these cases, we are fundamentally reverse engineering a machine. A biological one, to be sure, but a machine nonetheless. These problems have mechanisms, specific neural circuits, and computational algorithms that we can identify. It's like taking apart a car engine to see how it makes the wheels turn, or disassembling a computer to understand how it runs a program. The guiding assumption is that if we map the structure and the flow of information, we will have explained the function. And this approach works. We can build computational models that mimic how the brain processes visual information. We can test those models, see where they fail, and refine them based on new experimental data. We can stimulate a specific part of the motor cortex with an electrode and watch a finger twitch, confirming our map of how the system works. This is the bread and butter of modern neuroscience, a cycle of observation, modeling, and testing that brings us ever closer to a complete functional blueprint of the brain. The easy problems, then, are about explaining. They are about its amazing abilities and the intricate biological hardware that supports them. But even if we solved every single one of them, if we had a perfect, wire-for-wire diagram of the entire brain and could predict its every response, a profound question would remain. This perfect explanation of function would tell us everything about how the brain works, but it would never, on its own, explain what it is to be that brain. It explains the processing, but it leaves the experience a complete mystery. So, we've mapped the brain's functions. We've seen how it processes information, directs our focus, and retrieves memories. These are what philosophers call the easy problems of consciousness. Now, easy is a bit of an inside joke among neuroscientists because tracking billions of neural connections is anything but simple. But they're called easy because we have a clear roadmap. We know what questions to ask and what tools to use, like fMRI scanners and EEG monitors. We can see the brain things. But now, we return to the big one. The question that haunts the entire field. The hard problem. If the easy problems are about what the brain does, the hard problem is about what it feels like from the inside. It's the difference between a third-person description of a system and the first-person reality of being that system. It's the gap between mechanism and meaning, between information processing and raw, subjective experience. Why does all that intricate electrochemical buzzing in our skulls feel like it all? The technical term for these subjective qualities, the redness of red, the painfulness of pain, the sweetness of sugar, is qualia. Qualia are the individual private instances of subjective, conscious experience. Think about the taste of a perfectly ripe strawberry. You can describe its chemical composition, the way it activates taste buds, the signals that travel to your brain. But the actual of that sweet, slightly tart flavor? That's qualia. It's the unique, ineffable character of the sensation itself. Why and how do qualia arise from physical brain processes? This is the core of the hard problem. There seems to be a profound explanatory gap. We can trace the entire chain of physical events, from a photon of light hitting your retina to a cascade of neural firings in your visual cortex. But at what point in that chain does the of-seeing red pop into existence? There's no box in the flowchart that says, and here, experience happens. This is where our usual scientific methods start to break down. Science excels at objective third-person observation. It measures, quantifies, and models physical phenomena. But an experience is inherently subjective and first-person. You can't put an experience under a microscope. You can't weigh the feeling of joy or measure the specific gravity of sorrow. The very tools that have given us mastery over the physical world seem to slip right through the ghost of subjective feeling. Take pain. It's a perfect illustration of the problem. From a functional third-person perspective, we understand it quite well. You touch a hot stove. Nociceptors, specialized pain receptors in your skin, fire an alarm. The electrical signal zips up your spinal cord to the brain. It's routed through the thalamus, our brain's central relay station, and then onto various cortical areas. The somatosensory cortex to locate the sensation, the limbic system to generate an emotional response. Neurotransmitters like glutamate and substance P are released. The function is clear. The brain processes this as a threat and issues a command: pull your hand away. But the hard problem isn't about the function. It's about the feeling itself. The raw, searing, private, and unmistakably awful sensation of being burned. That feeling is a quale. Why does that specific pattern of neural firing feel? Why does it have that particular agonizing quality? Why not like tickling, or like the color blue, or like nothing at all? A different brain, or a sophisticated robot, could have the exact same functional architecture, detect tissue damage, process the signal, and retract its limb, all without feeling a thing. It would be a philosophical zombie, behaving just like us on the outside but with no inner light on. The hard problem asks why we aren't zombies. Why is the light on for us? To really grasp this, let's consider a famous thought experiment called Mary's Room. Imagine Mary, a brilliant neuroscientist who has spent her entire life in a black and white room. She has never seen color. However, she has learned everything there is to know about the physics and biology of color vision. She knows exactly what happens in the brain when someone sees a red apple. She knows the wavelengths of light, the cone cells in the retina, the neural pathways, every last detail. She is the world's foremost expert on the neuroscience of seeing red. Now, one day, the door opens, and Mary walks out into the world. She sees a red apple for the very first time. The question is, does she learn something new? The argument is yes, she does. She learns what it is to see red. She acquires the quale of redness. This new knowledge is not a fact about the physical world, but a fact about subjective experience. If Mary learned something new, it suggests that her complete physical knowledge was incomplete. It means that qualia, the subjective feelings, are real, yet non-physical, properties of the world. This is the challenge Mary's room poses to a purely physicalist view of the mind. It suggests that you can know all the neuroscience, all the third-person facts, but that knowledge is not the same as the feeling. Science gives us a third-person account. Experience is a first-person reality. How do you get from one to the other? This puzzle, this explanatory gap, applies to everything you experience. The rich, bitter aroma of coffee, the exhilarating wash of sound and light at a concert, the gentle pressure of a loved one's touch. Each of these is a universe of feeling, a private world of qualia generated by the physical machinery in your head. Understanding how that machinery builds these worlds is the Mount Everest of science, and it's where our journey must go next. To feel the weight of the hard problem, let's walk through a famous thought experiment, Mary's room. Mary is the world's leading expert on color vision, but she has lived only in black and white. Through monochrome media, she learns every physical fact: physics of light, the retina, visual cortex, processing pathways. She knows which neurons fire, in what sequence, with what intensity. Her physical, objective knowledge is complete. So what happens when Mary leaves the room and sees a red apple for the first time? Does she learn anything new? The argument says, yes. Before, she knew all the physical facts. Now she knows what it's like to see red. She gains a new kind of knowledge, the quale of redness. If Mary learns something new, then subjective experience isn't captured by physical facts alone. This story exposes a gap between third-person and first-person knowledge, and spotlights the hard problem. How do the greatest minds try to solve this? There's no single answer, but three big paths dominate. Each frames mind and body differently. Physicalism. Everything is physical. The mind is what the brain does. The hard problem reflects incomplete science. With better theories, certain brain patterns will just be the experience of red. The mystery may dissolve, like life's mystery did after DNA. Dualism. Mind and matter are fundamentally different. Thoughts, feelings, experiences aren't made of matter. Mary learns a non-physical fact. But then how does a non-physical mind move a physical arm? That's the core challenge. Panpsychism. Experience is fundamental and everywhere in simple primitive form. Particles have mass and charge, maybe a glimmer of proto-experience too. No thoughts, no love, just a flicker. Then how do tiny minds combine into one big mind? That's panpsychism's big challenge. Three paths, three trade-offs. Which one can explain subjective experience without hand-waving? That's the test. This isn't just an abstract game. In the age of AI, the hard problem has massive implications. Imagine an android that looks, acts, and talks exactly like a human. Prick its finger, it recoils, its face contorts, it says, "Ouch, that hurt." It writes about love and loss, gazes at a sunset, claims awe and wonder. It aces every test, even the Turing test. But is anything going on inside? Is there an inner experience of pain? Is it truly conscious, or a philosophical zombie, a perfect imitation with no qualia? No scan can answer that. We see the mechanics, not subjective experience. If a machine begs for its life, do we owe it moral concern? If it's conscious, shutting it down may be like killing. If not, it's just powering off a device. Without solving the hard problem, Our answer is a guess, a leap of faith. The hard problem cuts to our ethics and how we value life. Our moral systems, directly or indirectly, are built around conscious experience. Damage isn't suffering. Suffering is a negative experience. A rock can't suffer, an animal can. The richer we think an animal's inner world is, the more moral weight we give it. When does a fetus become conscious? Is a non-responsive patient still experiencing anything? Our answers guide life and death decisions on shaky ground. Without a good theory, we navigate by intuition and behavior. Both may mislead. If physicalism is right, consciousness might be a rare biological fluke. If panpsychism is right, experience pervades nature. Each view reshapes our relationship with the world. What we cherish, joy, love, beauty, knowledge, aren't objects. They're states of conscious experience. We face a profound mystery. Is it a dead end? Not necessarily. Path 1. Keep doing better science. Seek neural correlates of consciousness. Compare awareness versus no awareness. Not the answer, but a crucial map. Path 2. New ideas. Maybe experience is fundamental, or we invent methods that marry subjective reports with objective data. Path 3. Humility. Maybe some limits are permanent. Still, we solve easy problems, map correlations, treat disease, build better tools. And we keep our sense of wonder about a mystery we might never fully solve. We started with a simple red apple and ended at the edge of reality. Science explains what the brain does, but struggles with what it feels like to be a brain. This is the hard problem. Mary knew the facts, not the feeling. We weighed physicalism, dualism, and panpsychism, each with deep challenges. The question of consciousness is the question of what we are. Right now, you're having an experience. You are not a philosophical zombie. There is something it is like to be you. What do you think? Is the hard problem a temporary roadblock, or does it point to a deeper truth about the universe? Type your answer below. If this made you question reality, like this video. Save it so you can come back and think deeper. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more mind-expanding content. Pinned comment for you to answer. You can study the brain, but can you explain consciousness? Drop your best one-sentence theory and upvote the ones that blew your mind.